Welcome back, Ronin Renegades. I am Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB gameplay, and today's game will be played against Uzuri. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I'll walk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now while explaining my thought process for the lines that I take, and compare that to what I did at the time of recording. We will either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns, with the goal of optimizing and tightening gameplay in the future to take down paper events like ProQuests or Road to Nationals, and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. Without further ado, let's jump into our sideboard and our game plan. Today's game features my Searing Emberblade list. If you would like to check that list out on FaB or try it for yourself on Talishar, you can find the deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. We have lost the die roll and we will be going first. What this means for us is not that we are going to change any of our equipment, just that we are going to alter our game plan slightly. Normally, in this matchup, I do not want to arsenal anything. I don't want to leave myself open to command and conquer or leave no witnesses. And having a card in the arsenal means that I am now more obligated to protect it, whereas maybe I could have gotten a little bit more damage on my previous turn by playing or pitching it to convert into damage that I no longer need to protect. But game plan is going to come a bit later. For now, all you need to know is that we are not going to change our sword or our mask based on turn order. We are going to change our chest piece and use our spring tunic rather than our flamescale furnace. The reason for this is because we do not need to protect our arsenal. We don't need to block as much. So we don't really need the breakpoint stoppage that flamescale furnace gives us. And because we are confident that we can outrace Uzuri, we don't need the extra 2 points of health. What spring tunic gives us is an additional resource every 3 turns to play out our 3 or 4 card hands, and it lets us arsenal an Art of War. And I did tell you that I don't want to arsenal anything in this matchup, but the exception is Art of War when we have Spring Tunic available. That is going to let us set up big 5-card turns, or it is going to let us play the Art of War in response to a Leave No Witnesses or a Command and Conquer, to still give us a 5-card hand going into our next turn. Looking at the deck list itself, there are no changes that we want to make here. We are going full aggro, so we don't need to bring in our defense reactions. Uzuri does not have a meaningful number of non-attack actions that she wants to sequence into a turn, so we don't need our Warmonger's Diplomacy. And Command and Conquer is just generally a more expensive card than we want to be playing when we don't have a specific reason to play it. It's very good against Ranger, who actively use their arsenal, but against Uzuri, she might not use the arsenal, the card in the arsenal might not be pivotal to her game plan, so bringing Command and Conquer into the deck, and especially cutting something that is more efficient, just slows us down. The overall game plan here, like I said, is to not arsenal anything and to go full aggression. We do not want to leave ourselves open, to leave no witnesses or command and conquer. We want Shred to be a dead card. And although by not using our arsenal, we are opening ourselves up to Codex of Frailty, even with a 3-card hand, we are likely dealing more damage in a turn cycle than Uzuri is with just her Leave No Witnesses, or Nimblism plus Leave No Witnesses, or Dagger plus Leave No Witnesses. And there will be times when the card Uzuri picks up with Codex of Frailty is something like a Death Touch. And now we still get a 4-card hand, but we even got to choose what that 4-card hand looks like. So we are just playing solitaire here. We are 2 ships passing in the night. Uzuri is going to do her thing. We are going to do our thing. And our thing is going to be stronger and more efficient than what Uzuri can do. I know a lot of FaB players will talk about bringing in the defense reactions. We'll talk about playing into Uzuri's strengths and trying to extend the game. This was advice that I was given at my last Pro Quest before I lost in the top 8. So I want to show you how well this plan works when we aren't using our defense reactions and when we aren't arsenaling cards. So let's jump into the game and see how it all comes together. Our Phoenix Flame goes into discard, and we can take a look at our opening hand to see that it isn't very good. We have no natural go again, we have no draconic attacks. So if we are just trying to cycle some cards, while also keeping in mind that we do want to arsenal something turn 1, we can do a little finagling to make this turn happen. I don't think I touched on why we are okay arsenaling something turn 1, so I'm going to get into that now, which is this is a tempo matchup where we really want to be going second. Both FaB and Uzuri want to be second in this matchup so that they can take their first turn to block out whatever their opponent is doing, then draw up at the end of the turn. We are not expecting to get any damage through Uzuri's blocks. She has a high number of 3 blocks in the deck. Many Uzuris run defense reactions against FaB, so even with a much better hand than what we have here, we aren't expecting to leak any damage over blocks. And because we aren't expecting to leak any damage, we might as well arsenal a card. Yes, it does leave us open to Leave No Witnesses or Command and Conquer, but if Uzuri doesn't have either of those cards, now we get to go into our second turn with a 5-card hand that hopefully takes tempo back from Uzuri. So keeping that in mind, we would probably want to arsenal this Art of War. It is a high value card, but if Uzuri doesn't hit it, we have the potential of a turn 2 Art of War leading into maybe even a turn 3 Art of War with Tunic. So how we want to use this hand is pitch our Soulbead Strike to FaB to pick up our Phoenix Flame. We will play the Phoenix Flame for 0 with Go Again. We will pitch Salt the Wound to our Searing Emberblade to attack for 3 with Go Again, then attack with Fluster Fist that gets the Shuko trigger for 3 and arsenal our Art of War. What that does is it cycles our hand, we get these junky cards out, it keeps a Salt the Wound in the deck for our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, and it takes one of our non-Go Again blues out of the deck altogether, while also putting a blue into our discard in case we get hit with Codex. And the reason we care about a blue being in discard for Codex is if the follow-up to Codex is Leave No Witnesses, we don't need to block, and Uzuri does not get a silver. So I'm already taking a much different, worse line with this hand, and it is worse because we are keeping one of our junky blues in our deck, and we are playing this Salt the Wound, which is going to get blocked, and takes a finisher out of our deck. That's really bad, because if our Uzuri game goes long enough, and we burn through all of our finishers just through playing them, drawing them, blocking with them, eventually our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx has no targets, and we end up sacrificing a lot of damage. Looking at what we have in hand, it's fine. We have another couple of blues, we have a Rise from the Ashes, but we will be able to use this Art of War. Uzuri just comes in with E-Strike for 7, which we are happy to take. There is no disruption tied to it, so we just take our turn back. Looking at what we have in hand here, and knowing that we want to play an Art of War, I am going to start the turn with Art of War. We will pitch our Soul Bead Strike and banish our Snatch to give our attacks this turn +1 power and draw 2 cards. Snatch is a great card. It is something that I would like to work into an Art of War turn, but it doesn't have natural go again, and we really don't want to use our Snapdragon Scalers, 1, this early in the game, and 2, for something that isn't a big Lava Burst or Salt the Wound. And we could start the turn with Rise from the Ashes as well, but we might as well just see what we have available after this Art of War. Taking a much different line here and a much riskier line to keep a Snatch, maybe thinking that if we do draw into a natural Lava Burst or Salt the Wound, that we could just play out an efficient turn and arsenal this Snatch, or maybe we do take advantage of Snapdragons to get a big Lava Burst and follow it with a Snatch. But overall, I think this is a sloppy line that puts us into a position where we may need to break our Snapdragon Scalers to have a turn, and I never like feeling like I need my Snapdragon Scalers to have a turn. But this does work out well for us in that we didn't draw a second finisher, so we actually can work the Snatch into our turn. What I like doing here is starting with Rise from the Ashes. We take and we play our Phoenix Flame for 4, then we break the chain and attack with Ronin Renegade, Searing Emberblade, then pitch our Stab Wound to pick up and play our Phoenix Flame. Phoenix Flame gets the Shuko trigger off of itself, and we end our chain with Snatch. We could also play Rise from the Ashes, then pick up our Phoenix Flame and just play a normal turn cycle. Ronin Renegade comes in for 7, Searing Emberblade attacks for 3, Phoenix Flame attacks for 2, then we play, Stab Wound for 4. But we're arsenaling a Snatch, and I don't like arsenaling cards without natural go again this early in a game, if I can help it. Again, because I don't want to price myself into needing to use my Snapdragon Scalers. So, starting with the Phoenix Flame, it looks like me in the past agreed with this line. I am really not interested in breaking Mask of the Pouncing Lynx this early. Uzuri still has a ton of life left, so us breaking Pouncing Lynx for something like a big Lava Burst or Salt the Wound does not really put her in a position where she needs to block. And with having 4 cards in hand and 1 card in arsenal, she could easily alter her plan for the turn cycle to just block. So Talishar is of course going to give us the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx prompt every time we hit. I am never intending to use it. I'm going to pass through every time until my opponent gets even just a bit lower on life. We draw into another Art of War, which is incredible. We will have our Spring Tunic available on our next turn. Of course, getting hit with this Surgical Extraction. Let's see what Uzuri decides to take from us. Taking the Art of War, I think, is the correct play, though our turn is certainly going to be very, very good. We'll just play out this entire hand for a total of 14 damage, while having the option to break our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, depending on how Uzuri does or doesn't block. Likely not breaking Pouncing Lynx for Lava Burst here. Double Strike is going to get its own Shuko trigger, and even if it didn't, the Phoenix Flame would. But we might look at breaking for Salt the Wound. If I can get 6 points of value out of my Pouncing Lynx, I am pretty satisfied with that. With Uzuri at 21 life and 2 cards in hand, maybe that isn't quite good enough value. But we are at least putting her in a position where she may feel the need to block, and it is clear that Uzuri wants these 2 cards. With 5 hits on the chain and Uzuri at 18, I will break Pouncing Lynx for a 7 damage Salt the Wound and see whether Uzuri wants to just take this. She does. So we'll see what she's got cooking over there. Just surgical extraction. Maybe this surgical gets snapped into a Codex of Frailty. But as it is, our hand is very resilient to disruption. So I'm not looking to block as a general rule, but with this hand in particular, not blocking serves us very well. We lose an Art of War off the top of our deck, which is pretty tragic. But even with that, we'll just play out a decent enough hand. Pitch our Brand to attack with our Emberblade, pick up our Phoenix Flame, then play our Stab Wound, which gets the Shuko trigger. Just leaking damage where we can. We have our Fandal Spring Tunic use available, so it really broadens the hands that we can play out and play very efficiently, even without an Art of War. Spreading Flames is on the table, Mounting Anger is on the table as 2 very good cards for us to use off of just 4. Ravenous Rabble for 3, we will take it. Ravenous Rabble for 3, we will still take it and see what Uzuri can do with her last card. Codex of Frailty here is going to pick up Leave No Witnesses. So considering that our arsenal is now in danger, let's think about how we want to use our hand here. Probably going to discard one of these 2 Mounting Angers, which then lets us either attack for 9 by playing E-Strike, bottoming the other Mounting Anger and choosing Go again, then attacking with Blaze Headlong, or attacking for a potential 12 by using our Tunic to play the Mounting Anger, then attacking with E-Strike for 7, bottoming Blaze Headlong. So that line is really, really good. And keeping it in mind, like I had said earlier, we have put a few non-reds into our discard. So we're just going to pick up the Stab Wound and discard a Mounting Anger. Yes, we get hit by Leave No Witnesses. We lose our Stab Wound. We lose the top card of our deck. Maybe Uzuri gets a silver out of it. And then we hit her for 11, possibly 12 if she doesn't block the Mounting Anger. That's just really, really strong. We still have our Tunic and Shuko available to block. We are getting at least 1 card out of Uzuri's hand on defense, and however much damage she is also going to take. Mounting Anger getting blocked with 2 full cards is really, really good. And let's see what Uzuri wants to do about this 7. She could go to 2. She chooses instead to take just 1 point of damage, losing another Leave No Witnesses. Our hand here mostly plays itself. Rising Resentment, followed by Emberblade, followed by Flamecall Awakening, Phoenix Flame, Lava Burst. It's just dealing a lot of damage. There isn't really any trickery that we can do with this hand. We don't have another Emberblade available or anything to pitch the Phoenix Flame to. We're just leaking damage. Certainly not going to arsenal a Phoenix Flame here. We could and just say, well, we are getting our Shuko trigger on the Lava Burst. Let's make sure that our next turn is functional. But I really don't want to lose a Phoenix Flame. They are worthwhile to have in discard in multiples so that we can do things like pick them up, then bottom them to Enlightened Strike. But I really don't want to lose them. I want to keep them around. Uzuri here going to 1 is extremely risky. we draw into a hand that will likely just win the game, especially when Uzuri is reacting into a death touch. We get hit with a frailty, which will only net 1 point of value, and we should be able to just win through blocks. We're going to take a bit of a different line here. As opposed to being ultra efficient and having floating resources available after our Emberblade and FaB, we are going to use our Emberblade second after our Phoenix Flame activation. With the Phoenix Flame getting the Shuko, it really doesn't matter here, but assuming we didn't have Frailty, we would be sending the smaller attack before the larger attack, which maybe prompts Uzuri to block less efficiently. And we pick up a pretty clean win. So I wanted to show this game because Uzuri, while being far less represented than I thought she would be, is still lurking around. It is still good to know how to play against her, and with Ben Dodd's recent win in Melbourne, and I believe this is his list, Uzuris are trending more aggressive. So it's important to see how we play in this quote-unquote aggro mirror, where Uzuri also has more blocking options available than we do. We don't want to use our arsenal. We don't want to use defense reactions. We saw in this game that Uzuri was getting our power cards off the top of our deck with her banishes. We lost an Art of War, we lost a Spreading Flames, but even so, we're playing these 3 and 4 card hands that are way more efficient than anything Uzuri can do, and we're achieving that efficiency because we aren't playing her game, we are playing our game and forcing her to play with us. I do hope this game was helpful. I do hope you enjoyed it. If so, please head jab that like button for me. I will be back next week with more daily FaB gameplay. My comments are always open if you have any questions or feedback, and if not, then I will just see you later. Take care.